Today, my students will be presenting monologues, one Metal for Willie, and then we have Matthew Bender, who will be performing a monologue from Dominique LaRue's Sunset Baby. The purpose of this presentation is just for them to get an opportunity to see how far they have come during this winter term as theater students, which is to work the acting skills that they already have and to enhance them so that as they go out into the community, that they can continue to be the best performers that they are choosing to work toward being. So our first performance would be Matthew Bender as Kenyatta, Sunset Baby, Dominique LaRusso. So.
See, unlike America would have us believe, the greatest problem confronting this country today is not pollution and bad breath. It's black people. It's black people. See, that's just one of the big lies that America tells you and that you go for because you chumps. You go for it. One of the lies that we tell ourselves is that we are making progress. But Huey's chair is empty. We're not making progress. We tend to equate progress with concessions. We can no longer make that mistake. You see, when they gave us that nigger astronaut, you say we were making progress, but I told you they were going to lose him in space. He didn't get that far.
I always believed revolution was possible. Yeah, I dreamed about it as a child. That day, I heard Kwame Ture speak at the community center by my block. He was no longer Stokely Carmichael Bean. Dark-sheeted, bearded, but a massive man to me. Skinny, but that voice. It was the beginning. His voice was an awakening. Asked me to defy complacency and take a role in the system. Well, I guess they did take a role in the system. Served 10 years, you know. I was just a knuckleheaded kid, stealing snacks from the corner store and trying to bag girls for bragging rights. But that day, Brother Kwame Ture, he saw straight through me. His words grabbed me by the throat, demanding me to question my behavior and the condition of my people. I guess I questioned it. He said in that liquid voice of his, no man can give another man freedom. Freedom will be something you have to return and demand it for yourself. Freedom for all the people. All power to the people. See, empowerment is a cycle that have to be rotated, redistributed. I never thought it would happen in my lifetime, but there was a plan. Plant my seed in a warrior woman who was more powerful than the son was powerful. And Billy grew sickness, you know, because life is a line, it's a circle, a cycle, and you the next phase. The unchanged and unrooted next phase. You're the change. Do you hear me? You're my change. You're everything. You're the next phase. You're my change.
Why? All right then. You asked, now I'm gonna tell you. I didn't want to go through with this program and all to begin with. But standing here just now, reading off them words, I knew I just can't. I can't be that much of a hypocrite. Not even for Willie. Y'all expect me to accept this medal and say, thank you, sirs, and then go home and be happy about the whole thing? But I can't. I can't go through with this big lie. Yes, I said lie. What all your fine talk ever meant to Willie? He walked around this town nearly all his young life, and nobody cared. You Jim Crowed him, and you shunned him, and you shoved him off in a corner. You gave him a third-rate schooling, and when he wasn't quiet as a mouse, you put him out in the street. You looked down on him, and you kept him down, because he was black and poor and didn't know no better than to believe that that was the way things are supposed to be.
Yes, my Willie was dumb in a lot of ways. He didn't know nothing about no ideologies or whatever you call it. He wasn't fighting because he hated anybody. He joined the army because he couldn't get a decent job here. Willie thought if he did what they told him to in the army and didn't get in no trouble, then maybe someday he could come home and walk down the street and be somebody. Willie tried. He tried so hard, he got himself killed. But he didn't know. Because even while y'all's here supposed to be honoring Willie, you talking about keeping things the way they is. Willie didn't want things to stay the way they is, because that would mean he'd get the short end of the stick. The Jim Crow end, the poor folks end.
That's why this is all such a big lie. Y'all here ain't really honoring Willie. You here trying to tell yourselves that you've been right all along. That the way you've been doing things is perfectly okay. Because you get boys like Willie to go and fight and die for you. And they never know the difference. And you're trying to use me and my dead boy's memory to make out like everybody's all satisfied here in the land of the free. And we's all one big happy family who's just tickled with the
American way. Well, I don't know nothing about no other kind of way. I ain't never been to Europe or China or Russia or any of them places that I hear the man talk about on the radio. I don't know what goes on anywhere else, but I do know a whole lot about right here from my whole life of experience. And I say I don't like everything the way it is. And it's high time, way past time, for some changes to be made, so that folks like my boy and your boy will have the same chance as anybody else to grow up and enjoy life like decent folk without no holdbacks cause they're colored.
Yes.
Willie's dead and gone.
now. And I'm proud. He was here and brave and helped to save somebody else before he got himself killed. But I can't help thinking that Willie was fighting in the wrong place. He should have had that machine gun here.
So you take this medal back on up to Washington and tell them, I don't want it. Take it back. Pin it on your own shirt. Give it to the ones who keeps this big lie going and send boys like my Willie all over the world to die for some kind of freedom and democracy you always gets the leavings of. You done a pretty good job.
You had folks fooled a long time with all this honey talking and even had me trying to read off your words for you.
But I done woke up.
I knows what you're trying to do.
And I ain't gonna let you
do it to me no more.
Here! Take it back.
Thank y'all. Take that back on up to Washington. And see. Thank you, thank you. We're going to do just a quick talk back, just ask a few questions. If there's anything you want to know, anything that wasn't clear, please take this opportunity to do so. So we're going to welcome back the Mrs. Jacksons. Welcome back, Kenyatta. To the forefront here. Just stand here, stand in the space. And Kwame, Kenyatta, can you please stand with middle Mrs. Jackson? So, can you please introduce yourselves, starting with Twyla?
Patricia Beard.
Matthew Bender.
Christine Lawson.
I'm Marion Hinton.
Do you have any questions?
Did you write that, or was that something that was from, was that already pre-written, or did you three write that together?
Well, our instructor gave us pieces from, it's a monologue that was written, I believe it's a play.
Yeah, it's an actual play, and this is one of the monologues that I felt that they were strong enough that I could divide it into three, so I could give it three different powerful meanings with the same meaning but different power coming at it. So it's actually something that was written. They didn't create that particular piece. And
Well, my character, it's ironic. I grew up in the area when Stokely Carmichael, I was in college when Stokely Carmichael was a revolutionary. So I had a chance to live the experience, and now to read my character, I could put myself more into the role. And I enjoyed it.
It's very moving.
Kenyatta, his come from, like I said, Dominique Maruso. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Sunset Baby. His character is based on a father who was during that time. He had the opportunity to be powerful in the African American community in a positive light, but he didn't take the words of Stokely, and so he ended up in the system. So what you saw was him out of the system now, and recalled it and taken back, seeing where he went wrong. And also, he not just left the African community, he also left his daughter behind. So it's a little bit more to it. So he has a lot more remorse and guilt from ending up incarcerated. Yes. And so, of course, as it is, well, I feel like the monologue speaks for itself. It's really about during a time where Black African Americans went to war and to fight for a country that was fighting against them. And so for it was one son, but for their sons they're representing the mothers of the sons who went to fight for a country, but then was not getting that respect. A great thing then, but where was the respect for Willie when he was here?
Right.
You know, so I feel like they were able to express that well in the piece. Kenyatta, he's done. Can we give Matt a hand? He's very committed to his work, his craft as an actor. And so it's a lot for him with this because you have to do memory recall, then you have to become present in what you're doing in the character as well. So it's like he had to go back and forth. So I feel like he did so much better than he started because he had to connect. So
Yeah.
Matt was able to connect and find a way to where he can still deliver his lines without feeling disconnected to presenting them to you all. So I hope that you all were able to enjoy as I would enjoy them on the sidelines.
When you could really sense where there was like a shift, where he was present and then he was looking backwards.
Yes.
And that was pretty,
And for you to say that means a lot because that's been his challenge the whole time. And that's what he's been working to do.
Thank you.
Mr. Reeves, do you have any questions?
Let's see. What was the most difficult about doing this? What do you think is the most difficult part of it?
So what was the most
Most difficult. What was the most difficult or challenge in you all working on your pieces? Bring it on stage.
I'll start because I did have issue and I actually brought it up in class.
Project.
And I actually brought this issue up in class once we got our monologues. And as our instructor would work with us, she would tell us, where we needed to put emphasis and so forth. And I found myself becoming quite emotional. As a matter of fact, I mentioned in a setting when we were here that it was actually easy for me to get into the emotion to tear up because I know the pain that we spoke about. Even this was like 1920 era or earlier, and in 2019, I still feel the pain that this mother felt about the system, about our government and the treatment of African Americans. So I had to really work towards calming down and recognizing that I'm doing a monologue and to keep my raw emotion from, spilling over, but using enough of it, hopefully, to be effective in my delivery.
Oh, you did a wonderful job.
did.
And I think part of our challenge as three people playing the same character is to make it seem seamless, but different. So, because we each have different voices, we each approached it differently. And so, my Mrs. Jackson was a little different from Chris and Miriam's, and so on and so forth. So, to keep it moving so that the audience heard one voice, even though there were three people who were expressing or saying this monologue.
Excellent.
I too think that was, for me, the big challenge, is to be one of three and to have us come out as a chorus rather than as three separate people. And so that's what we were trying to do, even though we conceived of Mrs. Jackson differently. My Mrs. Jackson, I was actually his grandmother, and I raised him from a baby because his mother was caught up in the legacy of Jim Crow and segregation. And so, like Chris, I personally can identify with that. And you know, it is so contemporary. Yeah, this play was written when, I don't know when, but it can be written right now. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it can still be written right now. So controlling those emotions or using those emotions. It's great to be able to throw the metal.
So,
I guess my challenge was on how I was going to put the different eras together, having lived them, how I wanted the character to be, and make it mesh with now, because as they said, it could be right now, and having been in the system and then coming out and experiencing, you know, and then hearing this revolutionary speech, oh yeah, right on, you know, this would, if I would have listened, I would have been in a different system, not this system, you know. So I guess that was the challenge. I enjoyed it, you know, and I'm looking for the next challenge. Thank you very much.
next one.
So I just want to, if I could, we're done with this panel, but I want to say to those of you that are here, our instructor is the mastermind behind our performances and how it's delivered. These are her ideas, and she is just one hell of an instructor.
Right, you know, the three people doing one monologue.
I didn't hear you.
I said the three of us doing one monologue, that's your idea.
Okay. Thank you.
Because it was written for one person.
Well, in the monologue in Metal for Willie, it's like that the expectation is that you're just gonna take it and say thank you, and you said no, I don't thank you. In fact, this is why I'm not gonna thank you. That was very powerful to throw it, you know? It's really just like, you know, and yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to go, thank you. Just to clarify just a little bit, when she was speaking, she was different, she was the grandmother. One of the creative processes is to create a background story. It don't come with a background story, but what do you think happened to your character before you got to this point? So they had to go back and create their own background story. And so she decided she's raising her grandson, who actually became her son because he was so young when she took him in. And everyone else was thinking about, this is more of a academic, educated, sophisticated African American that we are not expected to have in the African American community. Chris, what was your background? So it was
Just a mother who was hurt and saddened by her son going.
so basically a home mom, you know. So she was the home mom. That was the grandmom. This was the educated mom, you know. So and then Matt, his was a little bit more easier because he had experienced a few of the things actually in real life. So he had to take his experience, but still keep it in character.
Yeah.
And not bring him into it, but only pieces that will motivate what Kenyatta was. Does that make sense to you all? So I just wanted to give a little clarification on the part of the creative process and how they developed what you came to see today. So I thank you all. We're going to have another one. The next one will be at the end of the spring summer term, and that will be where they actually are going to take their real life stories, and they're going about Detroit, the best story that will inspire but also give some history and some strength that can empower whoever's in the audience. So they're going to work on that, which will be an original piece that they will actually write. And then we're going to pull it together with the students. I'm teaching at Wayne State this summer, and we're going to do an intergenerational performance.
Oh, that's cool. That's great.
So I will let Mr. Reeves know, and if you're available, come and bring people. And then it'll be a little bit more better. We're going to try to find a different venue for it to be performed in. This is not our space. This is not even our original space in this space. So I thank you for like being okay with that. And so look for that in August, and we shall see you then. If you have any other questions or concerns, or if you want to book them, let us know. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.